Hey everybody, Dom here. Today I'd like to discuss the Team Fortress 2 item called the Cloak and Dagger. The Cloak and Dagger is a spy item. It's a golden wristwatch with a brown strap that allows the spy to stay invisible indefinitely provided he stays still. Due to the attributes of this item, it's common to find new spy players using it to be invisible and stationary for long lengths of time. The problem with standing around passively not doing anything is that the spy player ends up not having an impact on the round. This brings up the question and thesis of this video. Is the Cloak and Dagger a newbie trap? In some ways, the Cloak and Dagger is good for new players. It can help the players become better at the game. They can stand around in corners and out of the way locations and observe all the classes fight each other. They can watch and get a better understanding of the game. With this knowledge, they can decloak at the perfect time, approach a target, and get a backstab. Eventually. That's usually how new players end up using the watch. Another way the Cloak and Dagger is good for new players is that it helps build confidence. The spy is a tricky class to play. It's easy to see how some players might shy away from playing the class at first. By standing in relative safety and occasionally getting kills, the new player can build up their confidence until they eventually get comfortable with the class's mechanics. Those were the positive aspects of new players using the Cloak and Dagger. The main argument as to why they should not use the watch is that they end up wasting too much time. Sitting in a corner while invisible and waiting for the right moment can be very time consuming. If a spy stands around an entire round, they aren't having an impact on the game. They're taking up a player spot but aren't doing their fair share of the work to contribute towards a victory. A spy standing in a corner idle is equivalent to a player away from their computer. They aren't helping anyone most of the time. Another negative aspect of new players using the Cloak and Dagger is that it reinforces bad habits. The strategy of standing around invisible waiting for an opportunity is not optimal. When the player eventually becomes better at the game, they're going to have to fight this habit. Learning to play spy by standing around idle and then having to unlearn that mentality probably makes it take longer to learn to play spy well. Unlearning to play suboptimally before learning to play optimally is like digging a hole but starting on a hill rather than flat land. Or deciding to go to the top floor of a building but starting at the basement rather than the ground floor. Or some other random metaphor. Anyways, those are the arguments for and against the use of the Cloak and Dagger for new players. Back to the thesis of the video. Is the Cloak and Dagger a newbie trap? It has its pros and cons. I'll say, maybe, but probably not. The good the watch provides is greater than the bad. What do you, the viewers, think? Post in the comments. Personally, I learned how to be a good spy only when I realized it was much more fun to run around with the other watches. I used to also stand around invisible, stalking unsuspecting players and striking at the right moment, but then I used the other watches. I really enjoyed the freedom they provided to cover more distance on the map and force opportunities rather than wait for them. It wasn't that I realized that the Cloak and Dagger was holding me back. It was that the Cloak and Dagger idle strategy was less fun to use. Thanks for watching. Au revoir.